This is Mary Lewis at A Tiny Homestead, the podcast comprised entirely of conversations with homesteaders, cottage food producers, and crafters. Today I'm talking with Amber Skramstad at Skramtastic Treats. Good morning, Amber. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm dying to know all about Skramtastic Treats.
Oh, goodness. Well, I started my business about three and a half years ago. Um, I'm a cottage baker, so I had to register with the state and everything and get that started. I've been baking since I was a little girl. It was something that my mom and I really enjoyed to do together. Especially during the holidays. I remember when I was younger and I couldn't really be in the kitchen with her yet because I just kind of made more of a mess than I did anything else. But I would sit and watch and she would just bake for hours, like from sun up to sundown all day long. And we would always have, you know, every sort of little delicious cookie, bar, fudge, truffle, like everything you can imagine. And then we would make little tins or, little boxes and we would go around our neighborhood and we would give them to our neighbors. So I started to kind of do that with her as I got older and was able to follow directions a little bit more, I think. Continued to do that. She passed away in October of 2016 and I just kind of went on like a little hiatus from baking. It was hard to do. And I would still bake a little bit here and there, but nothing like I used to do. Um, and then COVID came, and I was a server at the time. So obviously during that time, restaurants and a lot of other places got shut down. And so I just started to bake. I just started to bake for fun again. And I would kind of just post things on my Facebook. I would do kind of uh, like an everyday. I would do something new every day. So like one day I would do muffins, and then the next day I would do this. And a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, can I buy some from you?" Since you can really just order online, to kind of like pick up and whatever. I was like, "Sure." And so that's kind of where it started. My fiance had kind of kicked me out there and was like, "Nope, I'm gonna set up a Facebook business page and kind of get everything going." And that's actually exactly what she did, and it just kind of picked up from there. So yeah, it's been going strong for about 3 years now, which has been nice.
That's fantastic. So I have questions because
Yeah.
we have our cottage food producer registration, not a
Mhm.
license, it's a registration.
Yes.
And I'm having a really hard time figuring out how to let people know that we can make eggnog bread for Christmas dinner or Parker House rolls or whatever. So the whole posting it on Facebook thing, did you do it on your Scramtastic Treats page or did you do it on your personal
Personal.
page? Or how'd you?
So I started just my personal page, so I didn't have my business page set up yet. Um, And then that's when my fiance Allie was like, "No, I'm gonna set up a business page." And she sat down one day and set up a whole business page for me. And then from there, so I started posting there, and then I was like, "Well, on Facebook, how am I going to get out there?" So I started posting to Marketplace,
Hmm.
and with our cottage registration, it's very finicky on what we can and cannot make. So, I learned as time went on, what I could make and could sell and didn't, or and couldn't. So yeah, I started posting on Marketplace a lot. Cupcakes or cakes that I would make. I was trying to take a lot of pictures, as my progress got better. Um, and then, yeah, it just kind of took off from there. So people that would order from me would start following my page. And so then my Facebook business page grew. But that's where I started. And I also have a bake stand. A really good friend of mine, Kathy, she owns Even Me Boutique up in Anoka. Her in-laws, or her in-law father-in-law, owns the Evelyn family farm up here in Andover. And so they do a pumpkin patch. They've got, hayride, animals, all that fun stuff. Well, she had reached out to me and was like, "Hey, if Don's okay with it, would you like to, um, have a little bake stand here?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?"
Hmm.
Super scared because they see, on their busy weekends, they've got 1,200, 1,400 people, throughout the weekend. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never baked that much. Um, so I did that. My first year was in 2020. 21, 22, no, 2021, I believe. 2021 was my first year there. And so I was there for 6 weekends. So the last weekend in September through Halloween weekend. And I got a lot more business there. And then that's actually where I got a lot of my holiday business. So, for Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff. So it just kind of took off. But I started on my personal page, ended up with my business page, and just kind of advertised where I could.
Okay. Um, so my other questions, because I have
Hmm.
lots of questions because I've been trying to figure this out. We've had
Yeah.
our registration in place since last spring, and all I've sold is granola, and that's great.
Yeah.
People love granola. It's sold
It
at the
is good.
farmers market this summer, no problem. Um, I have a decent sized kitchen,
Hmm.
and I have a pantry closet. I'm really lucky. It's cedar lined, and I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we have two big containers, one for sugar, one for flour. It holds like a 25-pound bag of each.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out if I if I make something and I share it on Facebook or on Nextdoor, even the other app.
Yeah. Yeah.
If nobody buys what I made, because that's gonna happen.
Hmm.
What do I do with this stuff? Because I don't want to eat it. It tastes great, but I don't need the calories. So what do I do with it if nobody buys it?
That's funny. I'm literally the exact same way. So it depends on what you make. Like a lot of times if I make cookies and they don't sell, I can freeze them. So
Hmm.
as long as it freezes nice, that's always a good option.
Okay.
Because then you can, I don't know, you can freeze baked cookies for a couple of months. As long as they're sealed well, they're perfectly fine. So then
Mhm.
I'll thaw them out and I'll bring them to, family get-togethers, or just thaw them out for my kids to take them to school. I also send them to work with Allie. I'm like, I don't want this in the house because I'm the same way. Like, I don't eat my baked goods that often.
Mhm.
Like, I'll do a little taste test, make sure that the batter's good, or that, the crumb came out okay, and stuff like that. But I don't just sit down and eat it. So I'm kind of the same way. But yeah, I usually send it off, or, I'll give it to friends and family. Um, what I recently started doing from the farmers markets and the vendors markets that I was doing over the summer, I would do a flash sale on my Facebook page. Um, so I'd knock a couple bucks off and just say, 2 for 1 or something like that. That's what I ended up doing. But otherwise, if you want to keep it for like family and stuff, I always freeze mine, and that seems to work out great, depending
Oh,
on what it is.
okay, that helps. I mean, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
figured that's what I would end up doing, but I just don't want to be stuck with a whole bunch of baked goods that are going to make me fat if I eat them
Yeah.
because I'm really good where I'm at. I really don't want to gain weight from where I'm at.
Yep. I hear
So
you.
I'll pass. Uh, so the other question I have is
Hmm.
the last time I was at the store, a dozen chocolate chip cookies were going for probably $10,
Hmm.
and they're not great. And that's why we love bakers from home, because bakers from home put love in their food and that makes it taste better.
Sure
So,
do.
how much would a dozen chocolate chip cookies cost from a cottage food producer on average?
So that kind of varies. It a lot of it depends on the quality of ingredients that they're using.
Mhm.
For me personally, my prices are a little higher. I like to, especially, okay, say if we're just talking about chocolate chip cookies, I will use like the bar chocolate. So I'll use the good quality bar chocolate because it melts beautifully and so on and so on.
Mhm.
Um, I know a lot of it depends on that. Um, Quality of ingredients, if you're taking extra steps. So like for me, I like to use brown butter. I like that extra flavor that it adds to a cookie. Um, Also depending too, I will use cake flour. So I'll do like half all purpose, half cake flour. Just depending on the cookie. There's a lot of different variants that go into pricing.
Mhm.
Um, but for me personally, it's just, putting in that extra love. Um, so mine are a little spendier and mine are a little bigger too. So they're not like the mini cookies, I make mine bigger. So mine are usually um, $3 a cookie because I'll sell them individually at the farmer's market. Um, so 36 a dozen is usually what mine go for. $2 to $3 is usually what mine are priced at.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was wondering about, because I understand, as someone who makes baked goods, that it's
Mm-hmm.
time and it's ingredients and it's focus, and we spent more money than we should have on a KitchenAid mixer because our other mixer died, and that's an expense. And for anyone listening, KitchenAid mixers are fantastic, and if you can afford it, spend the money. They last forever.
They do. They really do.
So I understand that baked goods from someone who is doing this as a cottage food producer are going to be more expensive than at the store. And
Mm-hmm.
and at the store has gone up
Oh yeah.
incredibly in just the last year and a half because of inflation. And
Yep.
shrinkflation is a thing now.
Oh, I noticed.
So
Um,
so you're getting what you pay for in this case. You're paying for the expertise and the love of doing it and the higher quality ingredients, hopefully. So
yes.
I just want listeners to know that being a cottage food producer is not, you take a box cake mix, throw it in the oven, and it's done, and it took you 5 minutes, and you're charging $30 for a cake. That's not how this works.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's where we get a lot of there's a lot of like misconception when it comes to cottage bakers. A lot of times people will reach out, for quotes and they kind of expect those prices, of like the supermarkets and stuff. And there's a lot more that goes into it, than a lot of people realize. So that is a very good point. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, and if you get into candies, it's even more expensive.
Oh,
Um,
yes, it
many,
is.
many years ago, I'm 54 now,
Mm-hmm.
and when my kids were younger, I wanted to give them an experience that my grandmother had given me. And I'm tearing up. I didn't think I was gonna do that. Oh,
Oh,
wow. Um, she hang on one second, I gotta get back together.
no, you're good.
Ooh, wow. I can tell it's coming up on Christmas.
Oh yeah, it's a hard time.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna try to do this without being a disaster, but it's not gonna work.
It's okay if you are.
She used to make pounds of Christmas candies. She used to do potato stick candy and Buckeyes, the peanut butter centers with the chocolate around them,
Yep.
and peanut brittle to die for. Oh my God, it was so
Oh,
good. She would send us like 30 pounds of candy every Christmas.
oh
And
my
she
goodness.
was living with my parents, and I decided to make her candies.
Oh.
And she was still okay. She had Alzheimer's, and she was still with us at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made all of her candies except Divinity because Divinity is a pain to make, and I
Yes.
figured I would burn it or ruin it. So I sent 40 pounds of candy to my parents' house.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and in the note I sent, I was like, I don't expect you guys to eat 40 pounds of Christmas candy. So dad takes them to work, mom give it to the neighbors, whatever, but I had
Yeah.
to do this. And my grandmother ate some of the candies, and she said that they tasted like home.
Oh my goodness.
And I hate that I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Um, so anyway, it cost me like I think it cost me like $200 for all the ingredients. And that was at least 15, 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't even want to know what it
No.
would cost me to make that candy now.
Oh my gosh. No. No. Well, that's
But
awesome. I mean, you're
but
keeping
that's
her tradition alive, and that's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah, and that's the other thing that we do when we do things from home is that we're influenced by home and by the things that remind us of home.
Exactly.
And you're doing it because of your mom.
Yep.
So it's important, and especially at this time of year. And I hate that
Yes.
I just like sobbed through the whole thing. But it was really fun to do, and my kids helped. And of course, I mean, I was making candy. Who would not be thrilled to be in the kitchen with mom making candy?
Yeah.
When they got to learn about the story behind it. So it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and my kitchen and my house smelled so good for a week because it took 5 days to do the 6 or 7 different kinds.
Oh yeah, it is very time consuming, that's for sure.
Yes,
It
but
really is. You
boy,
need lots of patience.
that was a heck of a Christmas, and the mail person at the post office when I walked in with the box waited, and she said, "What's in here?" And I said, "Christmas candy." She said, 40 pounds of Christmas candy? I said, "Yep, it's a long story. How much is it going to cost me?" She said, "A lot, a lot." I said, "Yeah, that's fine."
Yeah, it's got to get there.
Yeah, so
Oh,
it
that's
all
amazing.
made it was a really fun thing to do. My grandmother loved it, and that was kind of the point. So,
Yeah, well, that's awesome.
but
That's so awesome.
point being, now that I've teared up again, the second time out of 15 recordings, is that when you're doing this stuff from home, you don't have the luxury of deep pockets. You don't have the luxury of being a big corporate business who orders sugar by the hundreds and thousands of pounds of sugar and
Yep.
get a steep discount from whoever your supplier is. It's
Yeah.
it's very, very different. And I'm not discouraging anyone from getting into cottage food producing because it's easy. And if you want to explain the process of how you got your cottage food registration, that'd be great.
Um, so I went on to, what is it, the Minnesota wow.
Yep,
Is
for
that right?
agriculture. There we go.
Agriculture? It is the right
Yep.
one because I know there were two different ones that I went on
Mhm.
until I finally found it. So I went on there and you apply. They do have you take, which I didn't know that they did, and I think it's absolutely amazing. You know, it's for safety, but they have you take um like tests just to make sure that you understand the food laws, you know, of what you can make, what you can't make. Depending, you know, if you're making food or if you're canning, you know, and stuff like that. So there's lots of different areas that they test you on, which I think is really cool. Um I I'm serve safe, so I've been a server my whole life. So every year I had to do the serve safe test. So I think that really benefited me
Mhm.
in that because I did know, you know, a lot of that off the top of my head already. But yeah, you take the test. Um
And it's really simple. If you can read
it
and remember what's
is.
read, it's easy.
It is. It's super, super easy because it's what, like, I
10
think,
questions.
yeah, just a handful of them. It's not a lot at all. And don't they give you like a couple pages or something to read?
Yeah.
Yeah, so gosh, I took it so long ago. Yep.
Mhm.
So like they just give you the pages to read. It gives you the information. That's basically just like reading and remembering.
Yep.
So it's super simple. And then um so then after that, then once I pass that, and there's a couple different tiers that you can apply for or test for. Um and the first tier, isn't it just like $50, I think, for the registration fee or something?
The first tier is free. It's the second one that costs
It's
money.
the second one. Okay,
Yeah.
because that's the one that I'm in now.
Mhm.
So the first tier is free. And so then, they mail you out um, a certificate, saying that you are a registered cottage food producer, um, which I framed. I got my first one and I framed it. I was so proud. I
Me
framed
too.
that.
Yes.
Did you?
Yep.
So I framed that one, and I also framed my very first dollar that I got from the very first person to purchase from me, which is one of my good friends that I used to work with at the restaurant. So, once I was actually able to sell, I did, and she reached out right away. So um I framed her first, or the first dollar from her, which was really cool. But yeah, and it gives you different tiers, and if it's something that you're just kind of doing as a side hobby, which I was doing at first, I stayed in that first tier for a couple of years because my main, like, I was the busiest during, holiday season. And it's picked up. So yeah, I mean, it's really, really simple, for you to go online and do that. So if it's something that you want to do, even as just like a little hobby, because vendor markets are so fun. I
Mhm.
absolutely love doing them. Um, yeah, it's really simple, and it doesn't cost you much at all, if anything.
Yeah. I would love to start an actual bakery. I would love to have a freestanding building,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
and it's never going to happen. If I was 25, it might happen, but I'm not going to do it now. I can't afford it, and I have other things that I'm doing, like podcasting and other things. So
Yeah.
there's not enough time in the day for that too. Plus, we have a dog who is a Velcro dog, and she would be very unhappy to spend 8 to 10 hours a day in her crate. So
Oh
I'm
yeah.
trying to do everything from home, and the cottage food producing thing is definitely something would allow for that. But
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um,
I've juggled between that too.
yeah, it used to be I had 4 kids I needed to be home for, and then we got this Velcro puppy at 8 weeks old, and she does not love being without her people.
Yeah. Yeah, my dog's kind of needy, so
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yep. So I wish that I had known that I really loved to cook back when I was in my 20s, but I didn't really know I loved to cook until I hit about 28, 29.
Mm-hmm.
And by then I had 2 kids. So it wouldn't have worked. But
Yeah.
it's all good. And speaking of my dog, she's now barking. Yay.
I
But
know it's Oh,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say this is a real podcast, so you guys get to
Yeah.
hear all the stuff going on in the background.
Same here. Same here. He's surprisingly quiet right now. He's usually barking at all the squirrels in the tree.
Yeah.
Do you
She's
know I'm
she's
on a call? Yes.
she's barking at something. I have no idea what, and she will have to be happy with it until I'm done. I don't think she's gonna die between now and 10 minutes from now, so it'll be okay.
Yeah. They think that they are, but they
She's
aren't.
just she's just doing her job. She's an excellent
Mm-hmm.
dog. That's why we got her, because we live out in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't want to have to be surprised by someone knocking on my door. I'd rather be surprised by her barking and then seeing what she's barking at. So
Yep. Yep. No, I agree.
And speaking of pets, that's part of the reason that I didn't think we could get our cottage food producer registration until last year. Um, back when it
Oh,
started,
yeah.
back when it
Mm-hmm.
started in 2015, I think,
Mm-hmm.
you couldn't have pets in any area where you were cooking.
Yep.
And that changed, I guess, a little while ago. And so we had noticed that friends of ours were selling granola at their place, and they live on a farm. And
Oh,
I'd
so there's
been in
lots of animals.
yeah, and I'd been in their house and I knew there was no designated cooking space.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to go look this up because if I can be doing this, even with the dog in the house, I'd like to be doing it. And the rules are that any pets you have in the house cannot be on any countertops.
Yep.
And clearly, you want to sweep up your cooking space of any dog hair or cat hair or whatever pet you have hair.
Yeah.
Basically, your kitchen has to be clean. And
Yep.
I don't like cooking in a dirty kitchen. I think it's disgusting. So I'm going to cook in a clean kitchen, obviously.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I clean every day. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that kept me away from it for the first 5 years of us being out there because we had cats. And cats love to get on the countertops.
Oh, they do. They do, especially when you're not around. They're like, I can do it.
Yeah, so I really was like, no, I'm not comfortable with this at all. This is a bad plan. We're not going to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then after visiting my friend and seeing that they were selling granola, I was like, I need to revisit that. And if we can do it, I want to do it. And then we did it. And now I'm trying to figure out how to get the word out that we're doing. So I need to do some Facebook and Nextdoor stuff here soon.
Yes. Yes, advertising is huge and keeping up on it too. That's still an area honestly that I slack in. It's I'm a mom of two, I
Mhm.
it's I, I take care of the house, I have my business, and it's like I don't I don't ever like think every day to constantly be like, oh, I got to post. Oh, I got to make a post. Even if it's something small, it's something that I struggle with. And okay, come on. And my friend Kathy, she's been a business owner for quite a few years now. And that was one thing she's like, even if it's small, you know, post. Even if it's a funny meme, anything like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that shouldn't be hard. And then I go and I'm like, oh, I haven't posted for like 3 days. Maybe I should throw something up there.
My thing is always forgetting to take photos when I make something that looks really cool and I'm going to eat it. I forget to take a picture before I eat it.
Yep. That's another downfall of mine
So,
too.
yeah. And the other thing that I wanted to mention in all of this cottage food stuff is that um, gluten-free and gluten-friendly are not the same when it comes to a cottage food producer.
No, absolutely not.
Gluten-free means that your home is gluten-free. You do not
Yep.
have flour in your house, you have no wheat products, nothing.
Yep.
And gluten friendly is when you do what I did and someone says, can you make a gluten free bread? Because all the gluten free bread I've ever eaten I didn't like, and maybe you can come up with something.
Mhm.
And I made a almond flour gluten free bread and it was really yummy. And I sold a loaf to a lady and she loved it. And I asked her specifically, do you have celiac disease? I don't want to be nosy, but this is important. And she said, no, my doctor just recommended that I try gluten-free products.
Yeah.
And I flat out told her, I said, okay, my kitchen is not gluten-free because I use flour in my kitchen. But because
Mhm.
this isn't this isn't if you eat flour, you're gonna die or be really sick, we're good.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I mentioned it on the Minnesota Cottage Food Producers Facebook page. And the lady that is the admin for that, or one of them, said we don't say gluten free in that case, we say gluten friendly. And that was a very important distinction. I didn't know it was a thing. So
Yeah,
If
it took me, I didn't know either.
yeah, if the product says gluten friendly, it means that there may have been gluten products around it, near it, and be really careful of cross contamination.
Well, that's good. That's actually really good to know. Yeah, that's actually really good to know.
There's so many things to know. And I
And some
have,
little details too,
yeah,
like that simple verbiage, how to word things. Like it's little things like that. So,
yeah. The other thing is that you can develop allergies as an adult. Um, I didn't know this, but I used to be able to eat anything that was a hot pepper thing. And
mm-hmm.
I don't love hot, spicy food, but I like jalapenos and things sometimes.
Yeah.
And last winterish, end of winter, first of spring,
Mm-hmm.
we had something with jalapenos in it, and my lips got cold and numb.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, "What the heck is going on here?"
Yeah.
And then I had gotten some pico de gallo from the store and wanted it to have in quesadillas with sour cream and stuff. And ate it, and my lips went cold and numb again, and my throat started to close up. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
gosh,
"Oh
that's
no,
scary.
this is an allergy." So I no longer eat anything with capsaicin in it because I might die.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that you could develop a life-threatening food allergy as an adult.
Yeah, I know that you can become allergic to anything at any point in time. I didn't
Yeah,
think like that severe. I didn't know that either.
me either. And it was crazy because 2 weeks before I had eaten, I don't know, something with peppers in it, and I was fine.
Oh my gosh, isn't that
So,
crazy? I mean, I guess
surprise. Yeah, it's not great because my husband and my kid love tacos,
yeah.
and they want to doctor it up with all the hot peppers, and I'm like, okay, let's make it bland for
Yeah.
mom. Let me get
Make your
some
own little
so that I can do it.
batch.
Yep, I have to. So,
Yeah, I'm that way with
but
wheat though. That happened to me too with wheat.
yep.
So it's like I'm okay with bread still. Um, but I can really only have like sourdough, like an actual sourdough. But like
Hmm.
I can't have wheat thins, um, wheat bread, even beer. I was a beer girl. Like, I liked a nice cold beer. And
Hmm.
I had to give all that up. And it came out of nowhere. I mean, I think it had been going on for a few years. I just didn't like pinpoint it until
Hmm.
one night when I was eating. And then afterwards I got done eating and I was like, huh, I'm feeling this way after eating again. And then, just kind of like putting things in order, like, well, what did I have? And I was like, wow. So then I did, um, just kind of like a practice run. I just kind of cut it out of my diet. And
Hmm.
I felt so much better. And here I am, 2 years later, still not eating anything wheat.
Oh, it's so sad. I'm
It is. It
sorry.
sucks because wheat thins were literally like my favorite cracker, my all-time favorite
Hmm.
cracker. So it's whatever. You find new things that you like. So yeah, it's strange how that
Yeah.
just like happens.
Yeah, so the main reason I even brought up the fact that I now have this allergy to capsaicin, yay, is that you can develop allergies as an adult out of the blue. And so if for some reason you eat something from a cottage food baker and have a reaction, it's not necessarily the cottage food baker's
Yes.
fault. There may be something new with you.
Yep. Yep. That's very accurate.
And we actually became a business back in April, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was, and we chose the LLC
Oh,
distinction
yep.
so that we're protected if something does go wrong. And if you're going to do cottage food producing as a business, definitely look into your insurance and what you can do to make sure that, God forbid, something does go wrong, you're protected and your customers protected.
Yes. It's funny that you said that because I was actually looking up um, I was looking up that stuff literally last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe. But I was
Mhm.
recently looking it up too because on on Facebook I follow um a bunch of different pages. I got like a cottage food baker page and so on and so on. And someone had posted a question asking, the difference between just being registered and, being an LLC. And so I was kind of reading through all the comments and that's kind of what everybody else said too. So it protects your personal assets. So if
Yes.
something were to happen, they can go after you, but only your business. So they can't, if someone were to sue you, they can't go after your home and all that stuff. So I was like, huh, I think that's definitely something to look into. It's definitely a smart move, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I wanted to put some of this out there because I tend to get talking with people and it's like, "Oh, why do you do it? How do you do it? That's really nice. Yay team." And then it's all over.
Yeah.
And I realized that maybe getting more into the nitty-gritty of what's involved and that it's not as simple as people think
Yeah.
might be important. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I know, some people think, oh, you're just making cookies or, like it's like, well, it's not just that. So it's definitely good to get that out there for sure for people to actually know.
yeah. Yeah, it's a business. It may be a little tiny business, but it's a
It's a
business and
business.
you kind of gotta follow the rules and be aware that someone's going to be eating food that you made, and if you make them sick, that's a problem.
Yep.
And hopefully that never happens, but weird things do happen.
Yeah. I mean, you can never say never. It's always a possibility.
Yes, and I don't ever want to be on the receiving end of that phone call.
Absolutely not.
You made chocolate chip cookies and I was sick for a week.
Yeah.
Okay, number one, let's make sure it was those cookies. Number two, let me get with who I need to get with to make this right.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And that's a
So,
tough part too of like narrowing it down. Like
mhm,
with that, it's we had quick story at um my old job. My serving job, we had it was way before COVID. So we had big get-togethers. It was around the holiday time too. Actually, I can't remember if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, but we had a very large party come in, and um, a few days later, my boss was like, um, who is it? The OSHA.
mhm.
Um, they were coming in to inspect the restaurant and there was like an investigation and I'm like, what the heck happened? Like, and mind you, my GM at the time is just like me, a massive clean freak. Like massive clean freak. We would have overnight cleaning parties just for fun. I was like, well, yeah, I'm going to get paid to clean. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll do that.
Mhm.
Um, and so like, I mean, we passed our health inspections every single time. There was never an issue. She was very thorough. And so, yeah, so anyway, she had gotten a call and we knew the party. Like we remembered the party because it was like 14 or 16 people. I mean, it was massive. And so we knew right away who they were talking about. Well, apparently one of them had gotten one of them was sick and um, four or five of them actually ended up being sick to the point where they had to go to the hospital from dehydration. And she was like, so OSHA had to come through and did a huge health inspection, and we ended up passing. And come to find out, it was actually someone was sick that was at the party. So they also not only reached out to the people that had called and made the complaint or made the whatever, but they reached out to other people that were also within that group. And one person had said, "Yeah, I was sick, or I had just gotten done being sick."
Mhm.
But they didn't know that. So they automatically kind of assumed it was our food that got them sick, when in reality it wasn't. So, it's narrowing it down can be very difficult.
Yes, and I'm absolutely not like against any of the rules for this situation.
Hmm.
I think that it's really important, but I also want people to understand that we who do this do it as best we can, and we try to buy really good ingredients and we try to do it
Yep,
right. And if something does happen, it's just one of those things. It's no different than if you went to a buffet at a restaurant and came down sick from something you ate there.
exactly. Exactly.
So, okay. Well, this went a little longer than
Yeah.
I thought it was going to. We're at 40 minutes
Oh my
now.
goodness.
So, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me
Oh,
and answer my questions. And I've learned things and we've shared all kinds of stuff. And I teared up again. I got to stop doing that. So, you have a great
yes,
day.
you too, Mary. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
All
All
right.
right, you take
You have a
care.
great day.
Bye bye.